What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here, and this is Bull Season 4, Episode 10, Imminent Danger. So this one was good. However, one thing that I will say is I feel like a lot of these stories could have been focused on a bit more. And what I mean by that is I look at each individual thing in this episode. You know, you've got the case itself, very interesting concept. I love the idea of this girl's being stalked, but she can't prove it because the guy is a tech genius. She kills him to just end it once he breaks into her house. And what do you do? How do you defend that? Because technically she did kill him and it was in self-defense, but how do you convince the jury, especially when he's so good at hiding his tracks? And he even has a girlfriend that's willing to basically agree with everything he says. That already is an interesting case. But it gets bogged down because we've also got, well, the judge doesn't like Bull, so Bull can't be in there now. So now Marissa's got to be in there. We got to deal with that concept of Bull can't see anybody, Marissa can. Can she see people well enough, as Bull does? Can she see them well enough to understand what the jury is thinking and know what, basically, strategies to imply? Or apply, not imply. That is an interesting concept. But it gets bogged down. And in the third story, I don't mind getting a bit more about Taylor because we don't really know much about her still. Obviously, I know she's a parent. Pretty sure she was pregnant or was it last season that she joined? I think it was. So that's about all I know. But this story of her seeing this guy, and it seems like they really hit it off, but then he just doesn't call her back, and it's like, why not? And then kind of a funny little moment at the end where it's like, oh yeah, apparently your drawing numbers is terrible. So all these stories in their own right could take up a good chunk of time, and they all sort of did. You know, we had even Taylor's story, which was more of a side story. We still had a long scene of them meeting at dinner, going to his library, you know, enjoying each other, her taking the time to be like, I need somebody to look into this chunk. Can you call me? Can you text me? See if my phone's working? We still took time away from these other two really interesting stories that deserve more time. You know, again, the concept of the case itself could have taken up a whole episode on its own. You know, you could have gone into, is the girlfriend a part of it? Is she just completely clueless to who her boyfriend was and what he was hiding? You know, finding out that he was stalking her, well, is that enough to convince the jury, though? Like, are they still going to see it as, well, she still shot him 6 times. Like, do you have to go into explicit detail as to all the stuff that he did? How he basically mentally tortured her with everything that he did? I mean, there's a lot that you could unpack there, but we just kind of skipped over it because we didn't have enough time. Again, the stuff with Bull and the judge. Is the judge right in this case? Does he have the power to just throw out somebody because he doesn't like him and he doesn't like his trial science? Is the trial science even against the law of the courtroom? Or is this all just the judge is angry at Bull? We don't even get a reconciliation between the two at the end. We don't get to see any sense of them talking after everything is said and done, and the judge either still disregarding his science or saying, you know what, you helped somebody in need today. None of that. Bull gets kicked out of the courtroom, and it's more so about Marissa and her being inside the courtroom and being on the other side of the screen, which is an interesting story too, but there's so much going on here that could be getting more time, you know? And it's just, I guess that's kind of where the CBS nature of the show tends to show itself occasionally. You know, I talked about the one episode where the kid shot his brother. I felt like there could have been a moment at the end to see the parents really react to the scene where their son is basically being handcuffed, and they have to deal with the fact that their son is essentially a sociopath who killed his brother, killed their son. You know, that's a heartbreaking scene, and it's one that would really drive home that episode. But it's CBS, so they're probably not going to show that in this episode. Like, there's so much going on, but they gotta all, you know, basically tighten it down a little bit. They gotta bring all these different stories and bring them all together. I don't know. I guess I set my expectations very high for the show, especially after the start it had this season, that I was hoping they were going to stick on this path of like, man, these episodes are really good. And then you get to this one, and it's okay. It's good. There are good moments. There's good story elements in it. But it's not quite at the same level as everything else that's happened already this season, all the other episodes. And I feel like I'm a bit disappointed because of that. So, yeah, that's where I'm stuck, I guess. I enjoyed it. I still had a fun time with it, and there were a lot of moments that made me go, that's pretty awesome. That's a good moment. That's a good story moment. But then there are times I'm thinking, God, I wish we could have explored this a little bit more at least. Like, give me 5 more minutes on each of these stories, please, because I want to see more. Now, I want to get to know more about Taylor because she is the newest member of the team, so she's the one I know the least about. Give me more about this Judge and Bull. Like, I want to see that relationship, I guess, for lack of a better term, that rivalry. I want to see that grow. Does he learn to respect Bull and what he does because of the results, because of who he's helping? Seeing that it's not all about the money. Honestly, I thought that was going to get brought up because he says you're doing it all for money. And I'm pretty sure they took the case pro bono. So clearly it's not about the money because they wouldn't have taken on this case pro bono then. But of course that's not brought up. Like, there's a lot to be unpacked there. Clearly he has his opinion of Bull. It would have been interesting to see Bull challenge that and really try to show him what he does and how it helps people. But it's mainly just there, again, to set up the story of, well, Marissa's now in the courtroom. And I liked her scene too. That's something I haven't talked about. But yeah, Marissa being in the courtroom, kind of like that story. Granted, it does sort of knock Bull back a few notches in my book because I thought he was starting to learn to trust the team a bit more and trust their opinions a bit more. But of course, Marissa, in the moment, she gives him all these reasons why this is the juror we need to direct the testimony towards. This is the juror that I think, based on what I'm seeing in the courtroom, this is the juror that we need to talk to. But Bull, in his arrogance, despite the fact that he has learned to trust them more, for some reason this moment doesn't. Which then causes Marissa to go behind his back and say, hey, go for juror 9 instead. And I feel like that also could have been fleshed out a bit more, but again, we had to cut that off to spend time doing other things. So yeah, all in all, I mean, it's still, again, good episode, just potential for so much more because each of these different storylines would have been really interesting to see if we had gotten more time spent with them. If they had been in their own individual episodes with other storylines going on around them, I would have preferred that because I wanted to see more about each of these. But it is what it is. It's still a good episode, so still not encountered a bad episode this season, which is pretty good when I think about it. Yeah, we'll see what happens next. On to the next episode. I'll see you there. Now, episode 11, Look Back in Anger. So another one similar to the case about the Nathan Alexander guy who raped this dancer. It is one that would love if this were more like real life, if everybody who did stuff like this, who did despicable stuff like this, got caught for it. But unfortunately, most of the time they just hide it well enough. And something about, especially I think, and I don't know much about the psychology behind this, but I assume there's probably a bit of a shame thing with guys, like admitting that another guy took advantage of you. I feel like it's a lot less likely to have a guy admit that. Like kids, maybe they would be able to speak up, but most of the time kids are too scared, and then when they grow older, probably don't want to think about it, probably block it out of their mind. And then again, some of them are just, there's a pride thing. You don't want to admit that another man touched you. So yeah, I feel like this probably often doesn't happen to guys like this that do these awful things. It's still a nice moment in a TV show to sort of get that feeling of like, yes, got him. Because that whole scene where Benny is like showing the pictures and stuff, it is very satisfying from an audience's point of view. But again, just like the other one with the rape allegations, it's like, I wish we could just assume this is what's actually happening. Honestly, I did kind of wonder if they were maybe going to go down the rabbit hole of, is he telling the truth? Because Chunk even brought it up. Like, okay, so we say that we can't prosecute for his brother because his brother is dead now. So then all of a sudden he's just like, oh yeah, it happened to me too. Like, I thought we might travel down that a little bit and maybe find out that he is lying about it, that they try to take it to court or something, and then maybe they find somebody else who it actually happened to, and I guess the courage of somebody saying it gives him the courage to stand up and say something, but instead we just went with, no, the brother wasn't lying, this actually happened to him too, and I do feel like there are some missed opportunities with that, just to sort of, not necessarily make it a sad ending where the guy gets away with it because he lied or he gets in trouble for lying, but just to raise that possibility of, is there something else to this? Just because, again, in real life, certain things could be said just because, oh, well, he's super rich and powerful, so I want to take advantage of that. And I feel like typically in shows like this, whenever this happens, that idea sort of gets negated because you just assume as the audience, well, more than likely this is not a lie because we're the good guys and the good guys always win in these shows. So again, it is what it is because this is a CBS show and I should expect that it's just going to be very straightforward with it. But I don't know, just a few thoughts about that and just what it could have been if it were maybe a little bit more daring, maybe a little bit more willing to show both sides of the argument of, obviously we see the victim side of what they're dealing with, but also we see you can't just trust everything they're going to say. In this case, we did maybe get a little bit more because the attorney for this Mayview, I don't remember his name now. But we did see the attorney get a lot more time to sort of show, oh, you are going to make a lot of money off of this and you just guaranteed your loan guy, whatever you call him, loaner, I guess. You assured him you were going to pay it back. So are you just looking to make money off of him? I did appreciate that we did see that side a little bit more, but it was still shown in a way where she's being super cocky and arrogant and condescending about it. So I'm just like, okay, you're still showing her in a bad light, even if you are talking about that being a possibility. But with all that being said, I don't think there's much as far as side stories are concerned. With a little bit with Marissa, because this is a friend of hers that she's known for a while. Possibly, maybe something a little romantic going on between the two of them. I don't know. It was really hard to tell because they seem to show a couple scenes. I'm like, that seems like you're setting them up for romance. And of course, with everything she's been going through with the, I guess, likely divorce, even though I don't think we've ever actually confirmed that that's what's happening. There is a possibility that now there's another guy in the picture, so she can move on from her husband/ex-husband. So, yeah. All in all, though, pretty solid episode still. Still had a lot of good moments. Still had, obviously, that feeling of, yes, we did it in the end. And while it can get a little old to always win, it still does leave a satisfying impression whenever it's a situation like this, where the guy is just such a scumbag, was doing something so awful, and he gets his comeuppance in the end. That's always a good feeling, and I feel like that's kind of what makes some of these shows last as long as they do, is whenever the bad guys get their comeuppance. So, but yeah, on to the final of these 3 episodes. I'll see you there. And now, finally, episode 12, Behind the Ivy. Yeah, it's a good episode. Honestly, kind of what it makes me think of, and that's just because I love my video games, but if anybody's played Persona 5, definitely got some Kamoshida vibes from this coach. But yeah, I mean, just there have been several stories out there like what happened with this coach, where later on come to find out that apparently they were doing things to the players that almost tantamount of abuse, basically, where essentially they would push them so hard to the point of just cruelty. And looking back, it's just like, it's really sad, because you really do feel like, I mean, I can remember playing soccer in high school. I mean, it's not like if the coaches did do anything that felt out of line, it almost felt like you had no place as a player to say it, because, well, you're playing for their team. You know, so why should you be the one to speak up when they're the ones in charge, right? I mean, honestly, kind of almost relates back to the last episode, this feeling of, well, they're the authority, so I'm just going to listen to what they say. They probably know what's best for me. They're not going to do anything that's going to hurt me. And then you end up in trouble, you end up hurt. Well, they don't seem responsible because you're the one doing all of it. So, yeah, I feel like this is a good story, and anytime that I see a story like this one, it really does kind of hit me a little bit more personally. I didn't ever deal with a coach like that, to my knowledge. I mean, maybe looking back, I actually did have a couple coaches that were like that and maybe did push us too hard, but I couldn't imagine dealing with that especially from a kid's point of view, from a high schooler or middle schooler. I think this was he said it was 16, so he would have been in high school. But I mean, most high schoolers aren't going to have the guts to stand up to a coach, and they're just going to take it. So, it's it's a good story. But all in all, I mean, I feel like all the moving pieces were pretty well put together. I like the different little twists and turns. I like the fact there really was a feeling of, okay, when they bring in this doctor, we know what we're going to expect, we know what she's going to say, and then they find that one thing that feels like, oh yes, we finally got her, just for her to get up and say something completely different than they were expecting and turn the case on the head for them, which of course then requires them to have to find out some more information about this conversation that the counselor had with him and had with the coach. So, yeah, I mean, I liked all of that because it does keep the audience on their toes. You're not really sure what to expect. There is a feeling that something is about to change, just from the feeling of, oh, we finally got her, and even Marissa, like, boy, your smug is showing, like, you could tell something bad was about to happen. But that's kind of the fun for me in this show is, like, what's gonna be the flip on its head thing. What's going to be the thing that makes me go, oh, that's what's going on, not this. Interesting. Because they like to do that. They like to have those moments where all of a sudden something changes or new information is found that either makes things good for our team or makes things a lot worse for our team. But either way, I enjoy those moments. I tend to have a lot of fun seeing what's going to happen, what it's going to be, but also what's the reaction going to be. Is everybody going to be like, God, I can't believe that happened? Or is it going to be kind of a feeling of, yes, we've won the day? Yeah, all in all, very good episode. The stuff with Bull and the kid, also very funny. Something about seeing Bull wearing a baby sling, first incorrectly and then somewhat correctly. I guess maybe that is the correct way to wear it, but it still looks kind of funny to me. It looks like a... What was the image I had in my mind? I think I was thinking like a bungee suit almost. Like you just hook a little hook back there and then he jumps off a bridge. Like, I don't know. Something about him wearing that is hilarious. And seeing him getting ready to be a father is not what I expect from his type of personality. So I feel like we're going to have a lot of funny moments coming up. The next episode is called Child of Mine, and I'm pretty sure I saw Izzy in a hospital gown in one of the, I think not this episode, but the next episode, just as far as like the Paramount Plus pictures. So I'm assuming she's going to be having her kid very soon. So I am excited to see what they're planning to do with Bull as a father and how are they going to handle this story? What type of jokes are going to be involved? I don't know. I'm looking forward to it. So yeah, I think that's about it for this episode, though. All in all, it's just pretty straightforward and very solid. So, 12 episodes in, we are well past halfway. Well, not well past halfway. We are halfway through, though, now. And so far, it's been really good. It's kept my interest. I've had a lot of fun moments. Yes, there have been a couple episodes where maybe it's not been as strong, or there have been just a couple things that I feel like maybe is not realistic, or they could have focused on something else, or the one episode where I feel like they had so many good storylines that I wanted more time with, and as they were still good, but not great. There's just been a lot about this season, though, that has been enjoyable, and has at least given me a sense of excitement and entertainment to see what's going to come. I guess I should word that differently. Entertainment and excitement to see what comes next. It is late, so excuse me mixing up my words. But yeah, I honestly am shocked that this season has been as good and as solid as it has been. Just because I didn't really expect much from Bull. I know that's kind of bad for me to say, oh, this show, it's probably going to suck, but I'm going to watch it anyway. But honestly, I think because Criminal Minds was okay. You know, the way it ended, it was solid. But NCIS definitely had a lot of moments that made me go, God, I forgot how bad these CBS shows can get sometimes, how just truly frustrating and how dumb the writing can be. Because I know Bull has had its moments in the past. I can't remember exactly which episodes, but I know it's had its moments in the past that's made me go, really? That was a stupid episode. So wasn't really looking forward to this season. I'm definitely still not looking forward to next season just because of the fact that it's 2020 and I know it's going to be talked about a lot. But I do feel like this season especially has gotten me at least feeling, okay, they know how to write compelling drama. They know how to write these interesting stories, these interesting cases. So at the very least, even if I am pissed off having to deal with seeing what happened in 2020 again and deal with all of the narratives that everybody was pushing at the time and, you know, all of that, even if that is the case, there's still a feeling of, you know what? At least the cases might still be a lot of fun to watch. So I'm happy for that. And I look forward to seeing what's coming next. But with all that being said, that's it for these 3 episodes. So let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. What were your thoughts on these 3 episodes? Let me know. We can talk about and discuss all that good stuff. Leave a like and subscribe for future Bull reviews. And I'll see you guys at the next one. Peace out.